beach.
Well, it should be a great day to head outside to for a fun food festival.
In fact, it was the first ever Syrian food festival going on in Morton Grove. Yesterday was the first day, and I was lucky enough to be the MC for the opening ceremonies. That, by the way, Stacey, the Syrian alphabet. It was a real opportunity for people to learn about the culture, about the ancient language. There was dancing, there was food, music, so much fun.
This is big news for anybody that travels across the state, even traveling to work every single day. The gas tax here in our state will double by this Monday, and that's not all. Get ready for higher prices on cigarette taxes, parking, and much more. Skokie is now one of the suburbs requiring mandatory masks when you're out in public. The new measure is to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Starting today, people will be required to wear face masks in certain public locations as part of an executive order. For the first time in the Smithsonian Institution's 173-year history, an African-American has been tapped to lead the museum and research complex. And that video is very difficult to watch. The victim, a 70-year-old woman, was just waiting to get into work. Her stepson was with her, trying to make sure she got inside safely. And then what happens next is heartbreaking. Students here are ready to go back to class today. Terrell, it's one of the first Catholic schools returning to in-person classes in our area. Several aldermen, along with those local community groups, plan on holding a virtual press conference. They're really upset at COVID-19 relief funds that were used and how they were used, and they want to see change. This morning, Superintendent Eddie Johnson plans to comment about exactly how much he knew before the Laquan McDonald shooting case came to light. It's been 5 years since Jason Van Dyke shot Laquan McDonald 16 times. And I-57 remains shut down near the shooting scene right around 119th Street. One person is dead, 2 others badly injured in this shooting. This morning, the governor is expected to announce new details of the state's phased reopening plan, which does include those looser restrictions. Okay, so we won't get to see the river dyed green this year, but you can still celebrate. Today, for the first time this season, you'll see the tour boats back on the river.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Simon. On behalf of Shamiran Media, I welcome all our viewers. Our special guest today is none other than Chicago's ABC Morning News anchor, Diane Pathieu. Diane, we're very happy that you can join us today from Chicago. Welcome to Shamiran Media.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Diane, you and I are of Assyrian descent, the ancient civilization of Assyrians, Babylonians. We are the original Mesopotamians. And up until recent years, we didn't hear, we didn't see any Assyrians in the American media. Now, you are an anchor and the first Assyrian anchor out of Chicago. How did you land this lucrative job on such a prime news station?
The short answer is hard work. I was born and raised to, much like a lot of the Assyrian people, to work hard, to never give up. I wanted to be an anchor reporter for this station my entire life. And I said, one day, this is what I have to do. So using my knowledge and skills and hard work and ethics that the Assyrian people, that my parents, my grandparents, my ancestors have instilled in me, I worked that much harder because nobody knew who we were. Nobody had somebody that looked like me on television here in Chicago. Why would they hire me? And I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed until I got here. And it was just a lot of hard work.
What is in particular pushing? I know hard work.
I think it has to do with this business can be very competitive. Like a lot of businesses, this business can be very cutthroat, as the term is. You have to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, outside of the norm
if you want that particular thing bad enough. I got told no a lot. A lot of people said, you don't have the look we want. You don't have, I mean, I know you're from here, but keep trying. It just took so long. And then finally, when I got the yes, all of that pushing, I missed family events. I missed, birthday parties, baptisms. I sacrificed a lot of my own personal and family life to get to Chicago, to be an Assyrian woman on television in Chicago, to represent a very, at the time, large community here in Chicago that was not represented. So when I say push, I mean I took myself to the next level and I kept going even when I was told no.
That is a winning formula, no matter who says no to you. For as long as you say yes to yourself, you'll get there eventually. And I am very happy that you're there already. And we're hoping for bigger steps that you'll be taking in the future. Diane,
thank you.
On your job, what determines what stories to cover?
So because Chicago is, the Chicago television market is the third largest in the country, we have facets of news gathering. So it starts from the top with the news, the vice president of news, the president of news, and then it trickles down from there. There are people that make decisions on what they want covered, what they believe is important in Chicago to cover. If there's something across the country or globally that's connected to Chicago to cover, for example, Ukraine was a big one. We have a very large Ukrainian population in Chicago. So I was on a Ukrainian story yesterday. They determine what we do as reporters and anchors and what we talk about. Now, we can still offer up ideas and they can take those suggestions. For example, the Syrian Food Fest here in Chicago was created, minus the pandemic years, this was our fourth annual, minus the pandemic years. When the food festival came about, they never thought to be on television. I said, let's put this on television. And I grabbed two members of our church and the people who were organizing the event. And I said, look, I'm going to put you on television. You're going to do an interview. You're going to talk about this Syrian Food Fest and people will come. And people did come and people did watch. And we had a tremendous opportunity and tremendous response from not just the Assyrian community. This weekend alone, we had over 10,000 people come to the food festival. That's all for raising my hand saying, there's this food festival I really would like to cover. It affects X amount of people. And I think it's going to be a good story to talk about a really good group of people doing a good thing. And they responded very well to that. So although the decisions are made on top, I still have some influence over some of the decision making.
Well, it should be a great day to head outside to for a fun food festival.
In fact, it was the first ever Syrian food festival going on in Morton Grove. Yesterday was the first day, and I was lucky enough to be the MC for the opening ceremonies. That, by the way, Stacey, the Syrian alphabet. It was a real opportunity for people to learn about the culture, about the ancient language. There was dancing, there was food, music, so much fun. It continues today from 2 until 10. Look at all those kids.
How was the food?
It was so good. It was so good.
Now, in this day and age, perhaps more than ever, language is very important. How you present the story, what kind of words you use. A lot of people are concerned about being offended one way or the other. Do you write your own stories once a story is given to you to cover? And is your language very carefully crafted and edited?
Yes. So I write every single thing. I mean, with the exception of being on the anchor desk, that's different. It's written, I go over it and change it. But everything that I do reporting in the field, I write. Now let me say that. I write it one way. using very politically correct language, and it has to go through 2 more people before it could actually make it to air. So it's not like I write it and then that's it. It's on television. Because we're such a large station and because the opportunity to get sued is so great, we even have lawyers on retainer at the station so that if there is language that's questionable, that's who we talk to. We have our lawyer look at it and say, is this okay to go on the air with? It is very, very, it's crafted in such a way. We have to be very sensitive to our viewers because ultimately our viewers are the only reason we have. So we don't want to ever offend any viewer. Look, nothing's perfect. You're going to offend someone all the time. But we do the best we can to try not to offend a group of people if we can just word it differently. So yes, I do write everything that comes out of my mouth, but it's also looked at by several other eyes.
What is your favorite storyline that you'd like to work on?
I think whenever you talk about conflict, or for example, Ukraine, when you talk about conflict, or even what was going on in Iraq years ago, it's very important to me to get that story right because, you know, war can be, I mean, it's obvious that it's difficult, but it can also be extremely emotional to the person watching it. For example, when the statue of Saddam fell, when the group of people tore that down, on one hand, you had people crying, cheering that they saw that because they had never seen such an act of freedom before. And on the other hand, you saw people crying and upset because this is their leader, the only person they knew who to follow. And so it's very, very, you have to be very, very sensitive, right? And so I think the thing that I want to concentrate on and I want to make sure that I get right is just to make sure I'm sensitive to people that have, when there are these burdens, because war is a big burden, it can be so emotional that I'm just sensitive to that.
Have you ever reported from a war zone? An actual on the ground?
I have never reported from a war zone. I have never.
Would you like to?
I don't know.
It takes a certain person, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't be out of. Yeah, it wouldn't be because I'm fearful. I just would worry for my family. I wouldn't want them to worry. It's not so much that I wouldn't do it for myself because I think that's an exciting opportunity, but I also don't want my parents watching and wondering if their daughter's ever going to come home. I mean, I have to be sensitive to that too.
Understandable. You are from Chicago. We hear outside of Chicago about crime stories. Certain cities in the US now are crime infested. But you're reporting on a lot of crime stories and talking to cops and officials and everybody involved somewhat with the crime. Why do you think there is so much crime across the United States, especially in major cities?
It's interesting that you asked me that because I had a 2-day conversation with my photographer the last 2 days about this. What is it that's changed? Why is there so much business all of a sudden? What happened? And say, oh, it was the pandemic. Well, the pandemic is over, so that can't be the reason. Oh, it's political. Okay, well, what is it that's happening? So I don't know the answer to that. I just know what has changed in my city. Major things have changed. One of the main ones, 2 of the main ones, we are 1,000 police officers short in our police department. That's a huge problem. You are the 3rd largest city in the country and you are down 1,000 police officers. It's a problem. The second thing is because of the acts of some corrupt officers, we've put on these rules, these new rules to correct the mistakes of the past. And although that is the right thing to do, it could almost hinder the officers that have never done anything wrong. Because now we're punishing them for mistakes of their brother, mistakes of somebody that came before them. And then the other side of it is the law side of it. We have a prosecutor who has always said that she was going to be lighter when it comes to young kids committing crimes. In other words, she does not want young people in jail. Rather, she would want them rehabilitated and not be in prison so that they're not stuck in the prison system for years. So now we're seeing younger and younger and younger criminals because they know that they're not going to get a lot of time in jail. So I think it's a myriad of problems. It's not one problem. It's not two. It's problems all at once. I just don't know what the solution is. And that's one of the things that my photographer and I were talking about. I have no idea how to fix this. All I know is it's a very scary time. And I'm sure in other cities too, but in Chicago, it's a very scary time.
It's not just Chicago. San Francisco recalled their DA. LA attempted to do it. It failed twice. Philadelphia, New York, and other major cities are facing this hot crime wave. And what is really astonishing to me is that the age of the criminals is getting lower and lower. Now you find low teen kids who commit crimes, carjackings, shopliftings, assaults. And I think the media's responsibility is to do stories, serious stories, on the root cause of all of this. Because you're talking about war zone in Ukraine. We in LA, I live in the LA County, we feel that we live in the war zone. And something's got to be done.
Who's going to tell you that? Absolutely, you're 100% right. But who's to say what the problem is? Because like I just named all of these issues, is it one root problem or is it multiple problems finally catching up to us?
I believe it's multiple.
See, it's hard to pinpoint. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint it as a storyteller on one thing. I'd be lying. That's not true. It's a thing. It's several things that have happened. And until we get tougher on crime, no matter the age, things are not going to change.
Yes, I think the American people are ready to hold their leaders accountable because we deserve safe environments, safe schools. And I hope that the media does its job.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, when you talk to voters at the polls, they don't remember any of this. They won't, they'll just think about that one person they want and they won't think about all the consequences. And it is absolutely our duty to report the facts, not what we think are the facts, but the actual facts, and for the voters to make an informed decision.
Cognitive dissonance. I think that's what's happening to some voters. Now, Diane, who is your favorite person that you'd like to interview? And you have your eye on him or her?
Oh, that's hard. Oh, that's a tough question. My favorite person I'd like to interview. I don't know. I don't know if I have a person that I have an overwhelming amount of desire to interview. I've interviewed so many. I mean, I sit down with, politicians all the time. I sit down with, I've interviewed celebrities before. That's not that important to me. I don't know. I don't think there is one person. I think the people that make big decisions in their lives, normal, everyday people who make very important decisions in their lives, bad or good, those are the people I'm most interested in talking to. It's not some big popular person. It's the regular people who are trying to work hard, be good, have a good family at home, want to do good, the good person that wants to do good in the world, that wants to put back good. I just feel like that's so that art of being a good person has drifted away. Not for everybody, for some people has drifted away, and we're just so angry and upset at each other. So to me, it's not one person. It's the person that has a good story to share.
I've always believed that the regular Joe who is unknown, does regular job, lives in a regular neighborhood, could have amazing stories that could touch everyone once they hear about it. I mean, there's some heroism acts on the part of regular citizens and other sacrifices and heroic works that others do, mothers, fathers. And I personally am very interested in regular people's life stories. That's interesting.
Yeah, me too.
We think alike. I have cleared the HIPAA issue on your husband, Nicholas, with you. So I am free to ask you how he's doing with his cancer treatment, and in general, how is he?
He's doing very well. So December, 3 days before Christmas, December 2020, he has a seizure in our basement right before he was about to start his workout. I was at work anchoring that day, and I had no idea what was going on. Long story short, a day before Christmas, he was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. And since then, he's had brain surgery, craniotomy. They opened up his head and removed the tumor, and it went really well. Since then, the tumor has grown back. It's a very aggressive cancer. Brain cancer is one of the most aggressive cancers of all the cancers, and one of the most difficult to treat because it's in your brain. You know, if you think about it, if it's skin cancer, for example, you can remove the lesion and hope it doesn't come back. But when it's your brain, you can't go in your brain every single day and remove these tumors. So it's very difficult. But since then, since he had what's called a reoccurrence, he has been treating it with it's called a target therapy that treats his tumor gene mutation. So he's on a type of drug that targets that particular gene. And since then, knock on wood, it's been stable and shrinking ever since. And we got his most recent scan was last week, and it is stable. And right now he's physically doing very, very well. He's mentally extremely sharp. And thanks be to God that he is still with us and fighting every day.
We like to hear that. And it must have been hard for you to leave your husband and go to work and focus on your job. And we commend you for that. Diane, we wish you all the best. We want to hear more wonderful news from you, doing what you like best, and wish you all the best. And thank you for sitting down and talking to us at Shamiran Media. Take care.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for this terrific opportunity. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're proud of you, the Assyrian sister. Take care.
Thank you.
Hello!
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for comments, words, stories, prayers.
Anything that was positive, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you even told us stories that either your cancer journey or the journey of somebody you love. I mean, that's really personal and hard to talk about.
It is. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah.
We've been trying to share as much as we can as we go along too. It takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of patience, but thank you everybody for thinking of us. We really appreciate it.
And those of you that have reached out to me and said, how is Nick feeling?
I feel good. Still going through treatment, still on chemotherapy. It's cliche, but it's a day at a time. But thank you very much for thinking of us.
Absolutely a day at a time. A day at a time, a treatment at a time, a step at a time, right?
We got it.
As you always say,
Keep that PMA.
keep that PMA, positive mental attitude. We'll see you next time, folks. Thanks,
Take care.
everybody.
سلام عليكم أنا إيفان أنوكين فراني بيتم بخايا قطر لك قمتخت استريشنة وبشنة لي نسيانة بزمنت زبنتت بتفاتة انتخمونتون زونيتون وزبنيتون بتفاتو ملكانة جو كاليفورنيا بريشايد مديتة ترلك الخضروانو رابا بتخدين أوين هايران تقاتلخون بسمع لكم قريمون لي أو 308 إشتا 48 8 0 0 إشتا.
Assyrian Foundation of America was established in 1964 as a 501c3 nonprofit in California to help needy Assyrians around the world, support Assyrian education, and preserve and promote the Assyrian language and culture. Since 1977, Nimbe magazine has been published under the auspices of the Assyrian Foundation of America and distributed around the world. Every day since inception, Assyrian Foundation of America has been a window of hope to keep Assyria alive. For more info, please visit AssyrianFoundation.org.
إيمانويل أكسيدنت اتنرابا ناشا ليطي متبال سلطة شكلي. اتلا نسيانة بدنا كيسس ات انجري لو و بيالباية قريمخ. إن آتن ينكل بتت بيتا خزموخن يطاني اتلوخن بوقارة مخبرون المنيان التلفون 8 أربع شوا وچا 8 تري وچا 5 خا يعني توخن بيت injuryrights.com. شمي إلى توني كالاغراكس كي يمزمن لشان خلية يما